Hello. This is going to be part 2 of the series I'm doing on scientific evidence that supports astrology. And today I want to look at evidence from the scientific fields of chronobiology and heliobiology. Chronobiology looks at the effect of lunar and solar cycles upon life on Earth, and heliobiology studies the effect of the sun on life on Earth. Now, these studies, for the most part, I'm going to talk about today, they do not delve so much into what I call standard astrological theory, or SAT. They're not going to prove that Aries is this way or Taurus is another way. But what they do show is that there are definite connections, definite links between celestial events and terrestrial events. And that's where astrology starts. So let's see if I can share my screen here. And as usual, I need to get rid of a couple of panels so that I can see what I'm doing. And now we're ready to go. Evidence from chronobiology and heliobiology. This first paper that I'm citing here, it's a review paper, one of those papers that just reviews all of the literature on a topic, a lot of the important stuff that's been published. It's titled "Are Cyclic Plant and Animal Behaviors Driven by Gravimetric Mechanical Forces?" And this article is a survey of how solar and lunar cycles affect both biological organisms and also some non-biological processes on Earth. And why is this particular article important to astrology? Well, this article in particular is important not only for its thoroughness, but also because it contains approximately 3 pages of references to leading studies that show how organisms and other things on Earth can be influenced by celestial cycles through gravity, changes in light, and rhythmic tides. Hence, not only do celestial-terrestrial links exist, they may also function through several different mechanisms. Okay, this next study I really like, leaf movements and their relationship with the lunisolar gravitational force by the late Peter Barlow. This study found that leaf movements are influenced by lunisolar gravitational forces. And why is this important for astrology? Well, this one's important because many scientists have claimed that gravitational forces from celestial bodies are simply too weak to affect organisms on Earth. This study appears to disprove that assertion, and once again, it suggests that the butterfly effect is in play. In other words, that's under the right circumstances, small changes in certain initial conditions can get multiplied over time and have a big effect on things. Here's another interesting article. Peter Barlow's insights and contributions to the study of tidal gravity variations and ultra-weak light emissions in plants. And this study found that lunisolar gravitational forces can affect the emission of photons by coffee seedlings. And why is this important for astrology? Well, this one is important because it shows, along with some other studies above, just how deep celestial influences can reach when it comes to affecting processes on Earth. I had no idea a year ago that coffee seedlings would emit photons. And it's amazing that some of these gravitational forces apparently can impact this photon emission. Okay, here are a couple of articles. The first one, an influence of changes of heliogeophysical conditions on biological systems. And the second, annual incidence of mortality related to hypertensive disease in Canada and associations with heliophysical parameters. These 2 studies found ways in which the sun can influence biological organisms. Why are they important for astrology? Well, they're important because they show that the sun does indeed produce some effects on the conditions of human beings on Earth. This is like the beginning of sun sign astrology, if you will. And let's see, we have some scatter plots and regression lines drawn in over here. And what they're showing is correlations between things like geomagnetic activity, solar wind proton density, solar wind plasma density, cosmic rays, deaths from hypertension, from high blood pressure that occurred in Canada. And you can just take a look at this and see that the correlations are all pretty good. What's interesting, though, is that there's often a lag time between these events and the deaths. So we see in some of these graphs, the lag time is 11 years, lagged by 8 years, lagged by 8 years, lagged by 9 years. Very interesting. Okay, here we have 3 studies. Cyclic patterns of cancer incidence in males by body site, heliogeophysical aspects of rheology, problem of the effect of cosmogeophysical factors on the formation of the properties of developing organisms during early ontogeny. While each of these studies provides evidence of what is known as heliogeophysical imprinting during the development of the fetus. In other words, evidence of the effects of the sun on a fetus prior to birth. Why is this important to astrology? Well, these studies are important because they show that some version of prenatal astrology is indeed valid. In other words, we have good science out there to back up the premise that the sun, this celestial body, can affect life on Earth even when it's a fetus in the womb. And that is just fascinating and I think very important for anyone who wants to argue that at least some type of astrology does exist out there. Okay, the next paper here is titled Human Responses to the Geophysical Daily, Annual, and Lunar Cycles. This paper is a review of the literature that shows the many connections between celestial cycles and human responses. That's important to astrology? Well, this paper is important for several reasons, including this table on the left that shows associations between birth month and various diseases. And this way, the article also provides some support for a type of sun sign astrology. Astrologers have long believed that certain signs, certain sun signs are more prone to certain diseases. And a given sun sign tends to overlap with the majority of a particular month. So for example, most of the people born in June are going to be Geminis, and we can see here that they are more prone to asthma. That is not at all surprising to astrologers, given that in standard astrological theory, Gemini rules the lungs. So that part would be expected. And part of Gemini resides in May, so for people born in May to have be more prone to asthma, that also is not unexpected. However, asthma being associated with people born in July, August, September, and October, that might be unexpected. But this is what you typically find when you try and study astrology scientifically and statistically. Quite often you find that some things astrologers believe are verified, but other things are kind of surprising. And they challenge us to think about how we can incorporate these results into standard astrological theory. Can we actually do that, or do we need to change or modify our theory, our basis for astrology in some way? So it's all very interesting, but at the very least, these few studies I've quoted for you. They show that there are indeed connections between celestial and terrestrial events. And some of those connections will overlap with standard astrological theory. Okay, that is my last slide for this presentation. So I will stop sharing. And that's it. And my next presentation in part 3, I'll show you some statistical studies that add support to astrology. And so I hope to see you soon. So long.